She will forget your face before she forgets your presence, because presence leaves a mark deeper than touch. Like and subscribe if you understand. This isn't about getting women back. It's about becoming the kind of man who never needs to. Every woman remembers the man who stayed centered when she tested him. The man who didn't explain himself, didn't fight for validation, didn't break when she pulled away. You think women fall for charm or looks. They don't. They fall for gravity. That calm, heavy stillness that makes her feel exposed. The kind that says, "I'm fine without you." And years later, when she lies beside someone else, a quiet thought returns. Not about what you said, but how you made her feel unseen yet safe. That's the paradox she can't unlearn. The man she can't forget is never the loudest. He's the one who walked away without noise and never looked back. Point number 1, the weight of presence. What do people feel when you walk into a room? Do they feel your energy settle the space, or do they barely notice you're there? You can lift weights, chase money, talk loud, but presence can't be faked. It's built in the quiet moments when no one's watching, when you're staring into the mirror after a loss, when your phone lights up at 2 a.m. and you don't reach for it, when you hold your ground instead of chasing an apology you'll never get. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In ancient Rome, men learned that strength wasn't in motion. It was in stillness. A soldier who flinched died first. A leader who spoke too soon lost trust. Presence was survival. Today, the world moves fast, but the principle hasn't changed. A man who can stay calm while others collapse gains power without trying. You see it when a father signs custody papers and doesn't break. When a man loses the job and still walks tall. When he looks at rejection and doesn't beg for closure. Every woman, every rival, every friend senses it. That grounded weight, that unshakable stillness that tells the world, "I am enough." Not because he says it, but because he doesn't need to. Presence isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering the space between reaction and control. It's the pause before the punch, the silence before the decision, the eye contact that says everything without a word. Train your stillness. When everything demands a reaction, can you remain unmoved? Because the man who owns his presence doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't chase energy, he creates it. And the world bends quietly to that gravity. Stay sharp. The next move isn't about what you say. It's about what they feel when you say nothing at all. The next section will show how detachment turns that presence into control. Point number 2, when detachment hurts her. When she finally pulled away, did you chase? Or did you let her walk, knowing silence would speak louder than words ever could? Detachment isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's standing in the dark with your hands still, your phone silent, your mind steady. You want to call, you want to explain, but you don't. Because every time you react, you give her proof she still owns space in your mind. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." The ancients understood that attachment is slavery. The man who needed nothing was untouchable. A king who didn't beg for loyalty ruled longer than one who demanded it. Now look at today. Modern men lose sleep over texts that never come. They scroll her photos, replay her last words, chase ghosts through screens. They confuse her silence with power, when in truth, the power was always in their restraint. Detachment hurts her because it disrupts the script. She expects reaction, anger, pursuit. Instead, she gets distance, calm. That calm forces her to confront what she's losing. It reminds her that your presence was never guaranteed. A man who walks away without bitterness becomes a mirror. She sees herself in what she broke, and she can't escape that reflection. That's why your silence lingers. It's not revenge, it's consequence. So let her feel it. Let her wonder why you didn't chase. Let her remember the weight of a man who didn't need to explain himself. Hold your line. When she looks back, and she will you still be standing where you chose to be? Because detachment isn't distance. It's power without noise. It's the space that teaches her what your absence means. Stay unmoved. The next moment will reveal what happens when control echoes longer than emotion ever could. Point number 3, the echo of control. When everything starts slipping, do you tighten your grip or loosen it? Control isn't about force. It's about the silence after the choice. You've felt it. That moment when she tests your patience, your pride, your limits. When her words twist. When she pulls back just to see if you'll chase. And you almost do. But then you stop. You breathe. And in that pause, everything shifts. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." In ancient times, soldiers were trained to face chaos with stillness, to act only when their minds were quiet. That discipline didn't come from emotion, it came from control. Now look around. Men today explode over texts, crumble at rejection, fold when pressure rises. They mistake reaction for strength. They think control means dominance. But real control is invisible. It's the calm stare across the table when she expects anger and gets silence. It's the tone that stays steady when others raise their voices. It's walking away from the argument you could win because peace costs less than ego. The echo of control is what haunts people after you're gone. It's the sound of restraint that keeps replaying in their mind. She remembers how you didn't flinch, how you didn't compete for attention, how your calm exposed her chaos. That echo lasts longer than any words. It turns absence into memory. It turns silence into dominance. Control isn't coldness. It's choice. You decide what moves you, what earns your energy, what deserves your voice. Train your response. When pressure hits, will you hold your frame or let emotion lead? Because the echo of control is power multiplied by patience. It's the sound of a man who owns himself. Stay centered. The next chapter shows how walking away becomes the loudest act of strength. Point number 4. The man who walked away. When was the last time you truly walked away? Not out of anger, not out of pride, but out of peace. You knew she wasn't yours anymore, yet you stayed hoping she'd see your worth. You gave chances, explained your pain, tried to fix what was already gone. Then one day the noise stopped, and in that silence, you saw what needed to be done. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." In Rome, men were judged not by how long they fought, but by when they knew to stop. Walking away wasn't surrender. It was wisdom. A general who stayed too long in a lost battle doomed his army. A man who stayed too long in a lost love doomed his spirit. Today, most men can't leave the fire. They keep texting, keep hoping, keep bleeding out slowly. They confuse staying with strength, when in truth, leaving requires more. The man who walks away reclaims direction. He stops being the actor in her story and writes his own. He stops reacting to her silence and starts mastering his own. She feels that. Every woman does. Because she can sense when a man's energy has truly detached, when his absence becomes heavier than his presence ever was. Walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you finally do for yourself. It means your value no longer depends on being chosen. So walk. Don't explain. Don't announce, just go. And when you do, ask yourself one question. Did you leave because you lost her or because you finally found you? Because every man who masters that choice becomes untouchable. And that's the moment she realizes the story's over. But the memory won't fade. You've made it to the end, and that already says something about you. You're not here for noise or quick tricks. You're here because you want to understand what makes real strength, what makes real presence. Every moment you hold your ground, every time you choose silence over reaction, you build that weight inside you, the kind no one can take. That's what this channel is about. Not chasing, not proving, just mastering yourself one choice at a time. If this spoke to you, if it reminded you of something you already know deep down, I want to thank you for being here. Your time is valuable, and the fact that you spent it here means more than you think. If you want to keep growing, hit subscribe. Not because it helps the channel, but because it keeps you connected to a space where men are rebuilding their edge. Tap like if this message hit somewhere real. And if you've got a story, a question, or a lesson of your own, drop it in the comments. I read them, and they shape what comes next. With that said, thanks for watching. And until next time.